It's Platt, and today we head to Japan to try a dark lager. That's next to Platt's Beer of the Week. So the particular beer we have today is Sapporo Black. Of course, comes to us from the fine folks at Sapporo Brewing. They are headquartered in Tokyo, Japan. They are also the first beer brand, first major commercial beer brand in the history of Japan. So very interesting little bit of history there. They were founded in 1876 in Hokkaido. Hopefully I said that all right. In Japan, that is the northernmost island of Japan. The brewery was actually started by the government. It was part of the Government Economic Revitalization Development Commission. You know, these kind of generic government commissions. And they decided that a brewery would kind of show the progress of the island. This was the time of World's Fair and things like that. It meant a lot to a community. Their first brewer, a gentleman named Sabe Nakagawa, was actually sent to Germany and trained there to become a brewmaster. Being in Germany, that means he was brewing lagers, and that's what he brought back to Japan. And for the most part, that's what the major breweries in Japan produce, is lager-style beers. Shortly after Sapporo got up and firing, other breweries started to come in, Nippon, Asahi, Kirin, just to name a few. Even though quickly other breweries came on board, it wasn't too long before consolidation came back. And by 1906, all of the major breweries had merged together to basically form a monopoly. And it was like that for roughly 40 years in the brewing business in Japan. Not until after World War II, during American occupation, those companies come back online. They end up splitting into two big breweries at the time. Nippon Brewing took the old Sapporo brand with it. They did not start brewing it at first. They didn't bring that back till 1956. But when they did, Sapporo took off enough to where by 1964 they ended up changing the name of the brewery to Sapporo. Now move ahead to the 2000s. In 2006 they purchased Sleeman Brewing in Canada for $400 million. They have, Sapporo has 5 breweries in Japan, but then started putting breweries internationally. They have a couple in Canada, and I don't think they have an individual brewery, but I believe they contract out of Wisconsin, and they have other breweries, but they purchased Sleeman to get their kind of footprint into North America. 2017, they purchased the Venerable Anchor Brewing, and what at times seemed like a decent move. Unfortunately hasn't worked out, which I don't know how they screwed that up. Sapporo, you got some questions to answer there for sure. Real quick, Sapporo is part of a major international conglomerate there, something called the Mitsui conglomerate or company, what have you. They're also into shipbuilding, banking, petrochemicals. They're just a big company, and Sapporo Brewing just makes up a small part of that. Real quick, let's get into the beers. Small line of beers, especially for Sapporo USA, the North American offerings. There's only 4. Of course, we have the black here, the regular Sapporo, which I've tried before, 4.9% ABV, flagship beer, pretty straightforward pale lager. Next is Sapporo Premium Light. I love the use of the term premium. Go back and look at old beer ads 30, 40, 50 years ago, and everything was a premium beer. Budweiser's a premium lager. Miller High Life, a premium lager. I do like that verbiage. 3.9% ABV, again, a light beer. And lastly, Sapporo Reserve, 5.0% alcohol by volume. It's an all malt lager. Actually, might be a fun video to try one of these days, is the regular typical adjunct lager, your Bud Miller Coors, versus an all malt lager, all malted barley lager. That might be something worth trying. Well, before we try this particular beer, though, let's check out the stats. All right, guys, let's jump in this beer review. I'll go ahead and get this poured. Looking online, Beer Advocate scores this an 83. Untapped gives this 3.5 stars out of 5. So a big brand beer like that, those are pretty decent scores. So kind of looking forward to that. All right, we'll let that head set a little bit. While we're waiting, time for questions for Platt. If you have a question that you would like me to answer in a video, please send it to plattsboozblog@gmail.com. In the subject line, put questions for Platt. Today, there's actually no questions from you guys. Last week or so, just kind of the same questions. But I did have a conversation the other day you guys might appreciate. I was talking to a bartender I used to work with, and somehow the term allocated came up, and he didn't, I'd used it and I could tell he didn't get it. And I realized I probably throw that out a lot. So, and I know I've used it on the channel, so if you don't know, when I use the term allocated when speaking about spirits, what that means is most likely it's a product with limited production, but generally almost unlimited demand. A perfect example in this in the whiskey world is Pappy Van Winkle. There's only so much Pappy 15-year or 21-year, what have you, that comes available each year. Everybody wants some. There's always lines out, but you can't, so I'm sure California, the state of California, would buy up as much as they could, but then New York would get sore or Florida would get sore. So the companies say, all right, New York is getting this amount of cases, California is getting this amount of cases, the Florida market, and then even with inside the market, you'll have that. A good example, recent years is Buffalo Trace. A lot of times you'll go in, they'll just say, limit 1 per customer, limit 2 per customer. Just some of these things have gotten really popular, and some people would buy them up if they could, so they spread it out, and this basically is what given rise to the secondary market. So if you can't find Pappy at your liquor store, maybe someone else has found it. So, but anyway, that's what the term allocated means. It's just, Jack Daniels will never be allocated. They'll make as much as they could, and they'll sell it to as many people as they can whenever. But the Jack Daniels 12-year, now is a little different story. So anyway, I thought you guys might appreciate that. That is what allocated means. All right, let's jump into this beer. Oh boy. Really dark, this is a dark lager, but this has some really, the nose is more chocolatey than most of the, like a standard German dark lager. This to me almost has more of a stout nose to it than just a regular black lager. Let's go ahead and jump in. Oh, that's pretty nice. That is real nice. Now, that nose told me that this is, again, a little darker beer than a standard dark lager, or it's more chocolate, a little creamy, but it's not dry. This is not like again, it's a dry Irish stout. We don't get those espresso notes, that coffee. We don't get the astringency. Yeah, they just stay with a little bit of cocoa, chocolate notes. This is still it's quite a drinkable beer. Like I said, it's just enough malt sweetness that it works with that chocolate, but it's not thick or cloying. It still has a lighter lager style body. Not gonna lie to you, this is a pretty good little brew. If I was in like a generic Irish pub and wasn't paying attention to what they poured it to me, like, oh yeah, that's nice little. Kind of surprised me again, because I talked about how the Japanese breweries, their history has been lagers, and generally pale lagers. And that's what they're known for. But they've really executed this. And again, for lager, it has a decent body for lager, but it is definitely still a lighter body than the equivalent stout or whatever. This is a beer with, like, dark chocolate notes, but still very drinkable. Well executed. I'm definitely going to have to keep an eye out for this one. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe down below. Also, please like the video, because it lets YouTube know we're putting out good content. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or beers that you'd like me to try, please leave me in the comment section, or you can always contact me on the Twitter page. Till next time, bombs up.